Good evening, Patriots, and welcome to another edition of the Douglas Ducote Show. Gentlemen, place you can be tonight. Chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Thank you very, very much. In a significant ruling, the Supreme Court has issued a 9-0 emergency order that effectively strips the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, aka the ATF, and the Biden administration of certain regulatory powers. The decision has far-reaching implications for gun owners and federal agencies alike. The case centers around the ATF's classification of pistol braces as short-barreled rifles under the National Firearms Act of 1934. The ATF's rule change meant that millions of law-abiding gun owners could suddenly be considered felons for possessing firearms that were previously legal. This regulatory shift prompted a legal challenge, culminating in the Supreme Court's unanimous decision today. Representative Kelly Armstrong of North Dakota, who has been a vocal critic of the ATF action, urged that the ATF's decision to retroactively classify pistol braces as short-barreled rifles is not only unfair, but also exceeds the agency's authority. Seems the Biden administration has a whole lot of that shit going on throughout the entire administration. Armstrong highlighted the significant risk and unnecessary complications posed by such regulatory overreach. Justice Scalia, in his opinion, emphasized the importance of clear and precise laws. He noted that the volume of law increases, so does the number of apparent and obligate laws, which often leave critical details to unelected bureaucrats. The court's role, he argued, is to interpret the law as it's written, not as a regulatory agency might try to enforce. Armstrong cited a tragic incident in North Dakota to underscore the real-world consequences of the ATF's policies, describing how a poorly planned warrant executed led to the death of a suspect and the injury of a police officer. This case amplified the dangers of bureaucratic decisions made without adequate consideration of the on-ground realities. Armstrong also tackled the issue of strict liability gun charges, where intent is not required for prosecution. He questioned the ATF's authority to redefine what constitutes a short-barrel rifle, pointing out that Congress had never passed such a law. This, he argued, was a clear overreach of executive power. Controversy began in 2012 when pistol braces were first sold legally without the need for a $200 stamp from the federal permission. Fast forward to the present, the ATF's reclassification has put millions of gun owners at risk of felony charges. The Congressional Research Services estimate that there are between 10 to 40 million pistol braces in circulation in America alone. The Supreme Court's 9-0 rule that the ATF have overstepped its authority by retroactively changes the classification of pistol braces. The justice argued that such significant regulatory changes require clear legislative action, not bureaucratic interpretation. The decision indicates or invalidates the ATF's rule and prevents its enforcement. The ruling is a major victory for gun owners who had legally purchased pistol braces under previous regulations. It prevents the ATF from criminalizing millions of Americans overnight based on retroactive rule changes. Gun owners can now possess these braces without fear of felony charges. The decision also underscores the need for clear and precise legislations from Congress. It highlights the importance of legislative oversight in preventing regulatory overreach. Moving forward, Congress may need to revisit the National Firearms Act and others related laws to ensure that they are clear. The Supreme Court's unanimous decision to strip the ATF of certain regulatory powers marks a significant movement in the ongoing debate over gun control and regulatory authority. It affirms the principle that significant changes to gun laws should come from Congress, not unelected bureaucrats. This ruling is a reminder of the importance of clear legislative action and the need for checks and balances and regulatory enforcement. And the justices got it right. And I hope that there is more of that to come over the next few months, while we're waiting for the Biden administration to exit stage left and not let the door hit them in the ass on the way out. Joe Biden snapped at a reporter for failing to play by the rules at a press conference today when the reporter asked about a stalled ceasefire deal for the war in Gaza instead of talking about Ukraine, which is what he was there to talk about. Biden lashed out at the reporter from Bloomberg News who asked him about Gaza, even while he was touting a 10-year U.S. security commitment to Ukraine alongside the Ukrainian president. Said, "I wish you guys would play by the rule a little bit," Biden said. FYI, there is no such agreement by the media to stay on a certain topic at a press conference held by the president, vice president, or anyone else for that matter. Biden went on to say, "I'm here to talk about a critical situation in Ukraine, and you're asking me about another subject." The war in Gaza is a top issue among U.S. and key allies, as it has come up repeatedly during White House press briefings, including earlier Thursday. See, the problem is it's not in his cue cards. It's not on his teleprompter. So switching stories is difficult for him to do with his mental decline that's happening for the world stage to see. Biden may have been sore at the previous reporter who asked him about his son Hunter being found guilty by a Delaware jury in a federal court on a gun charge. But even that question was phrased as an inquiry about addiction and struggle in his family, rather than about the most unseemly aspects of the trial. Biden's answer indicated it was a lack of fluency in the issue that forced him to vent. He noted correctly that the latest plan for a phased ceasefire was backed by the UN Security Council and the G7, which means absolutely nothing if Hamas doesn't agree to it. And they won't. They just launched another barrage of missiles at Israel last night, along with the northern front that's happening. The biggest hang-up so far is Hamas refusing to sign on, even though they have submitted something similar, he said. The main rule for the pressure that the media did comply with was a 2-and-2 format where each side media got 2 questions from the U.S. and from the Ukraine side. Biden routinely chastises reporters who ask multiple questions as a way to get around the strict limitations. Despite Biden's grumbling, the structure of the event was established to suit his interest. It didn't descend into a free-for-all. He faced a single question about Hunter's historical trial during the event. There were shouts, following up questions in the end, and Biden gave a single worded answer that no, he would not commute his son's sentence. He has previously said, and again today, that he would not pardon him when asked by reporters. There are a few moves that the White House has deployed that clash with the rules and decorum of press events in the past. One is the use of blaring music at the conclusion of the event. So when Biden turns to walk away, music will start playing that will drown out the reporters asking questions. So how many of you think that Joe Biden is not going to pardon Hunter on his way out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue when Donald Trump wins back the presidency? I guarantee you he will pardon him. Not only was Hunter found guilty in this case, and we don't know what the penalty is going to be. I can just about guarantee you it's not going to be jail time. But then he has to go to California, and he's faced with not paying taxes on the millions he brought in from China and Ukraine. Of course, he pleaded not guilty to those charges as well. Only in hopes, just like he did in this trial, to get one or two jurors to side with him. But look, that one's clear cut. When you don't pay your taxes, the federal government knows about it. If me or you do not pay our taxes, we go to jail. Do not pass go. So, what will happen there? Again, chances of Hunter Biden doing jail would be slim to none. But we shall see. The White House would have to notify Congress when the president takes a drug that could alter his alertness, judgment, or mood under a bill that was proposed today by a Tennessee Republican. Joe Biden's embarrassing outburst of anger and incoherent speeches mirror the incalculable damage his politics have done on our nation, Representative Andy Douglas told Fox News Digital today. Frequently slurred speech, long pauses, and inability to string together 5 words in a coherent sentence have put Biden's mental and physical decline on full display, he said. It is unfair to the American people for the White House to be occupied by someone who is literally incapable of speaking, not to mention walking, not to mention climbing upstairs. Douglas said in his bill, the No Juice Joe Act is what it will be called, came about because the White House has refused to test President Biden's mental abilities because they know he will fail miserably. Biden is scheduled to debate former President Trump, the GOP nominee, later this month. The president, whose office is the most powerful on earth, must be accountable to the people, and it's Congress's duty to ensure accountability, he said. Past presidents had grappled with health issues and sometimes involved treatments with drugs affecting their behavior, such as President John F. Kennedy's treatment by Dr. Max Jacobson, known as Dr. Feelgood, and Woodrow Wilson's post-stroke, which led to the 25th Amendment. In an email statement to Fox News Digital, White House spokesperson Andrew Bates said, "It's telling that Republican officials are unable to stop announcing how intimidated they remain by President Biden's State of the Union performance, but after losing every public and private negotiation with President Biden, and after seeing him secede where they have failed across the board, structure to actually reducing violent crime to actually outcompeting China, it tracks that those same Republicans officially make mistakes confidence for a drug." So this guy is hanging out with Hunter Biden and smoking some serious shit to believe that Joe Biden has done all these wonderful things. He's rebuilt our country. He's saved our economy. He's cut down on crime. He's got us back in line above China. Seriously? Last week, the Republican National Committee, the RNC, Research Division, posted several videos on X that appear to show President Biden in a potential state of confusion following his recent speech in Normandy to commence the 80th anniversary of D-Day. The RNC research account, which is managed by former President Trump's campaign and the RNC, routed off several posts on X of the president in Normandy, with one showing Biden bending down at one point, seeming to be uncertain whether it was time to sit down. Questions about Biden's mental acuity also circulated last week after the Wall Street Journal's bombshell report that interviewed 45 lawmakers and administration officials about Biden's mental performance. Biden, who is 81, is the oldest person to hold the presidency and has faced skepticism from voters and Republican lawmakers about his ability to do his job. Many Republicans and even some Democrats said the president showed his age in private meetings. Most of the people interviewed by the outlet who were critical of Biden's performance were Republicans, although some Democrats said the president showed his age in several exchanges. And these are all closed-door meetings where he sits down with Democrats and Republican members of Congress, and they talk about whatever they're going to talk about. And it appears that he's not all there to them in closed-door meetings. These interviewees participated in meetings with Biden or were briefed on them, including administrative officials and other Democrats who did not express concerns about how the president's handled the meetings. White House officials, however, dismissed many of the accounts of people who have met with the president or been briefed in those meetings, saying such criticism were motivated by partisan politics. Look, what are they going to call this thing again? The No Juicing Joe Act. So basically what they believe is happening is when you do see Joe Biden in front of a camera and he's got his shit together, where just the day before it wasn't, and the next day it's not going to be, that they're giving him some kind of medication that's allowing him to do that for a very short period of time. And that's what this bill will do. The No Juicing Joe Act. What a name. That's freaking funny. That's funny. I'm sorry. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is facing scrutiny over a report that hundreds of thousands of non-citizen asylum seekers had their cases closed without ruling, ushered in a sort of mass amnesty. The American people deserve transparency and accountability regarding the administration's handling of immigration and border security. The current state of affairs at our southern border is unacceptable and demands immediate and effective solutions. Senator Kevin Cramer wrote in a letter to the DHS Secretary and Attorney General Merrick Garland. Over 350,000 asylum cases since 2022 were closed by the administration if the migrants involved did not have a recorded criminal history, per data from a report by Syracuse University's Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse, a nonpartisan data gathering organization that tracks immigration cases and backlogs. Now, let me just stop right there for a second and go back and read this to you one more time so you all understand what's happening here. They're giving them amnesty if in their vetting process, it didn't pop up that they had a criminal record. And what did I just report to you on Tuesday? That they're now arresting and finding people in our country illegally that are committing murder. That stuff popped up later, not at the time, because whatever they're using isn't working properly down there on the border when they do this vetting process. It allowed 8 people on the no-fly zone list that had known connections to ISIS terrorists to bypass and get vetted into our country. And later, the red flag came up. So they're just letting them free. Let them go. Oh, we vetted them and they're good. The New York Post reported the mass amnesty move earlier this month. Cramer led 20 other Republican senators who also signed a letter citing the Post article, requesting answers from Biden officials regarding whether the report is accurate or not. Former acting ICE Director Tom Homan reacted to the report recently, claiming they haven't done a single thing to slow the flow, I guarantee you. The executive action is going to be another insult on the American legal system. Cramer slammed the action, describing in the report, writing, "This action allows these individuals to remain in the United States indefinitely without undergoing the proper legal process required to either grant or deny asylum claims." The Biden administration's mass amnesty for illegal aliens actually undermines the immigration system. Republicans called it an affront to every person pursuing a legal path into the United States. Kramer passed the Biden administration in the letter over how many times of the cases closed by the Executive Office of Immigration reviewed involved migrants that crossed the border illegally since January 20th of 2021, when President Joe Biden was inaugurated. North Dakota Senator also asked how Mayorkas and Garland plan to prevent the case dismissal from insensitive illegal immigration. Well, I can answer that for you. They're not. They don't care. Look, what are we doing, Republicans? What are we doing? You guys are going off on some of the most off-track bases I've ever seen in a group of Republicans. Not all of you. But do you actually think for 1 second anyone in this administration cares what you're saying and what you're putting down in a letter? If you haven't figured it out by now, they have completely 100% weaponized the justice system to include the Department of Justice and the FBI against Donald J. Trump and all of his supporters and anybody that's a Republican or conservative. That's just a fact. Show me otherwise. Any liberal or Democrat out there. You can't. Because we all see what's taking place in this country. And it's absolutely despicable. So, on that same note, the House, once again, wasted your time and tax money and voted to hold Department of Justice Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress for refusing to turn over the audio of interviews between President Joe Biden and the special prosecutor. The 2016-207 vote comes after Garland declined to turn over the audio recordings of an interview between Joe Biden and special counsel Robert Hur, who investigated the president for mishandling classified documents for when he served as vice president between 2008 and 2016. So let's stop there for a second. Hur basically said that Joe Biden committed all these crimes. He took classified documents as vice president under Obama and not only took them and put them in his house, but all of his homes and in garages and in places that were totally unsecure, office buildings. Who knows how many more out there that they haven't found yet. And chose not to prosecute him because he's mentally not there. Something in that interview triggered the special prosecutor to say, you put this guy on the stand and he's never going to be convicted because of his age and his mental capacity. And they put that in the writing of their outcome. So he's not capable, according to the special prosecutor, to stand trial for the same thing they're charging Donald Trump with, by the way, who was president, not vice president. But yet he's competent to be the president. Doesn't make any sense. There are 3 Democrats who voted against the measure, and 1 Republican crossed party lines to oppose the measure and vote with the Democrats. That'd be Representative David Joyce of Ohio. Representative Eric Bolson said, I think we have a responsibility to vote for him to be in contempt because he's directly violating the investigation that Congress is trying to do. We're firmly under an impeachment inquiry, and they're denying us access to evidence. Garland is not the first Attorney General to be held in contempt. Both Attorney Generals Eric Holder and William Barr were also held in contempt, 2012 and 2019. The Justice Department did not pursue charges in either case because they protect their own. The House is conducting an impeachment inquiry investigation whether Biden improperly benefited from his family business dealings that were led by Hunter. The tapes in question here deal with Biden's handling of the classified documents, not with his role in the international business dealings with his son, Hunter, which sparked this investigation. The Justice Department turned over the transcript of the interviews to Congress after Herb announced he would not bring charges against the Biden, saying the evidence did not indicate guilty beyond a reasonable doubt because of his age and his mental capacity. So in that interview, Joe Biden said something or did something that led the special prosecutor to go, no jury is going to convict this old senile man because he's not all there. What is that he said? What did he do? According to the transcripts, nothing, right? But Republicans have been increasingly critical of the Justice Department over the past 4 years, particularly Special Counsel Jack Smith's decision to bring charges against former President Donald Trump over his handling of classified documents and his role in attempts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. Representative Emanuel Cleaver, a Kansas City Democrat, said he believed the House vote on whether to hold Garland in contempt is political retribution, adding that there are Republican lawmakers who have refused to participate in investigations. It's sick and sad and may be done for the pleasure of only one person. He's referring to Donald Trump. Garland is an opt-in published on Tuesday, pushed back on Republican criticism of his department, tying the rhetoric to increased threats of violence. He said the department would not be intimidated by the Republicans. The Justice Department makes decisions about criminal investigations based only on the facts and the law, Garland wrote. We do not investigate people because of their last name, their political affiliation, the size of their bank account, where they come from, or what they look like. We investigate and prosecute violations of federal law, nothing more and nothing less. And if you believe that, you believe that Elvis Presley is alive and well and looks like a 20-year-old again. Still, Republicans insist they lost faith in the justice system and hopes if Trump wins in November, election will clean house at the Justice Department. We can only hope, because there were so many things that I personally believe Donald Trump should have done that he didn't do. And I came on this show when I explained it to you, and I was like, I don't get it. I don't understand why he's appointing certain people that are actually out to get him and other people in the administration that were holdovers that were out to get him and not doing anything about it. And everybody said, oh, trust the plan. Trust the plan. There's a bigger plan here. Where is it? Where's it at? I haven't seen it. I want to see Donald Trump come into office and clean slate any holdover from the Obama-Biden era or the Biden-Harris era out the door. Done, over with, stick a fork in it. You're done. Period. End of discussion. That's the only way this is going to work. Now, there happens to be one Republican that agrees with me that what these Republicans are doing in general to try and hold Democrats accountable isn't working. And you're wasting our money doing it when there are other options out there that can make change. Congresswoman Anita Pauline Luna is vowing to force a vote on Attorney General Merrick Garland's arrest if the Department of Justice fails to act on a criminal contempt resolution that was passed by the House. And they're not going to act. They're not going to prosecute their boss. I mean, but these Republicans that just push this all through don't get that, I guess. Luna said that she would plan to force a vote on her inherent contempt resolution against Garland after the full House of Representatives weighs the Biden official fate with a separate measure. As of right now, we fully intend to bring it, she revealed. I don't really have much faith in the Department of Justice. Neither do we, the people. And I don't think the American people do either, she said. But we're trying to bring back a level playing field and show that there should be accountability all the way up to the top. She added, if the Department of Justice won't do their job, we're going to do it for them. Inherent contempt differs from the regular contempt of Congress charge. The contempt charge that they passed refer Garland to his own department for criminal charges, and they will never charge their leader. But inherent contempt, if passed, would direct the House Sergeant at Arms to arrest Garland himself. Representative Luna said she would be circulating a letter among her colleagues explaining inherent contempt and the need for it. Inherent contempt of Congress hasn't been done since the early 1900s. And before that, it was a pretty common practice in the American justice system with members of Congress. I think that when you explain to the people what inherent contempt of Congress is, and when they see that subpoenas are being ignored, and that there seems to be a two-tiered justice system, which we're seeing nationally, every single person will understand. Luna could force House leaders to take up her bill by deeming it privileged, which would mandate the House to act on it within 2 legislative days, which means that by tomorrow. So it is circulating the halls of Congress as I speak. Let's see if these Republican Congress members have what it takes to do the right thing. Because with the Senate being controlled by Democrats, the contempt charges will go nowhere, and we're just wasting time and money that belongs to you, the American people. Yep, that's how it works, folks. It's like this whole thing when they censor members of Congress for saying things that are horrible. When they try and censor Alejandro Mar or AOC or Rashid Tlaib, when they have something that's capable of kicking them out of Congress, you know, what good does censoring do? It does nothing. It changes nothing other than you just cost us a shit ton of money. And you did absolutely nothing. It doesn't stop them from continuing to be and say these horrible and ridiculous things. But when somebody like Alejandro Mar and Rashid Tlaib support domestic terrorism in America, you have the ability as Congress members to kick them out. You just did that recently. I can't think of his name right now, but the guy that was in Congress that was I think he was a gay male, he was a transsexual, closet dresser, did all kinds of wild, crazy shit, lied about everything to run for Congress. he was just a complete and utter fool. Lied about his everything on his resume, about his college, about his education, about his work experience. He gets elected, and he's just running his mouth about things he knows absolutely nothing about. And they finally got tired of it and said, "You're done." So why can't they do it with Ilhan Omar and Rashid Tlaib and AOC? AOC supports domestic terrorists. Why don't we allow members of Congress to support domestic terrorists? Furthermore, all three of those I just mentioned, Ilhan Omar, Rashid Tlaib, and AOC, and Jamel Bowman, by the way, not only do they support domestic terrorists, but they're supporting Hamas. Let's take it a step further. You ever seen the movie Black Hawk Down? If you haven't watched it, it's a pretty good movie. It's about that shithole country called Somalia. It's a true story where we sent American forces in there basically to get the leader of that country, who was a drug lord and responsible for the slaughter of millions and millions of people, or not millions, but hundreds of thousands of people, innocent people, a dictator basically. In the process, a Black Hawk helicopter gets shot down, and the movie is all around that and rescuing those people and trying to get the bodies out of there and everything they had to go through. Ilhan Omar referred to the veterans now that were in that operation as the real terrorist. A sitting member of Congress called the American veterans that took place, that were in that operation, terrorist. See, that's where she's from. That's her home country, Somalia. It took place in Mogadishu down there. So what did we do about it in Congress? Nothing. You can't even get a single member of the Republican Party in the House or the Senate to stand up in front of a microphone and a camera from any news agency and slam them for supporting terrorist groups and organizations. If there's been a Republican do it, please share it with me and I'll retract that statement. But I haven't seen one. I mean, I've heard them piece around some things that, they should be censored for anti-Semitism and things like that. But just getting down to the core of what's happening with them, oh no, because that's political correctness. You can't say that. You will offend them. You'll offend them, because she's a woman. She's a Muslim. We can't go there. Well, the tables were turned and they were Republicans. Do you think for 1 second the Democrats wouldn't be chasing that shit down? They don't care. Folks, that's how Donald Trump got elected. We finally had somebody that did not care about standing in front of a camera and saying whatever was on his mind in the hell of political correctness. For years in this country, we've sat back and we watch the hateful left and the Democrats in Congress say some of the most despicable, horrible things about the President of the United States, and the President of the United States not fight back and just say, oh, it's above me. I'm not even going to go to that level. And they keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And finally, Donald Trump comes along and says, I ain't got a problem calling him out. And then when he does, oh my God, they're all up in arms and oh, how dare you? And that's so unprecedented. And that's what started this whole thing against hating Donald Trump and Trump syndrome. All the things they claim he would do if he gets back, becomes president again. No, they did that shit back in the last election or 2 elections ago when he went up against Clinton, and none of that came true. All of it came true under Biden, though, by the way. It is a circus show run amok with a bunch of clowns, literally. And the only thing they understand, the only thing, is when an alpha male calls them out on their bullshit and does not give a damn what anybody thinks about it. That's what got Donald J. Trump into 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. The Republicans and conservatives had had enough. And I would hope that after what we've seen in the past 3.5 years, those same Republicans, along with the new group of Republicans, and I can already assure you, many Democrats are switching over and are going to vote for Donald Trump, that we show up in massive force. And when you can show those numbers, I don't care if you thought the last election was cheated or not. You cannot cheat when Republicans get off their ass and go out there and vote. Can't do it. But the problem is, we can't get half the population of registered voters in the Republican Party to go out and vote for shit. Look at your local levels for school board, for instance, or for a sheriff. All your local city council members and things like that. And 500 or 1,000 Republicans show up. And then you wonder why your city's going to hell. It all starts at the local level. And we have to get involved. We have to go out there and vote. We have to bring people with us. And if we can do that, look, the Democrats have got this down to a science, my friends. If you haven't figured that out yet, it's an art farm for them. Hell, the DNC pays hundreds of thousands of dollars for buses to go around in low-income housing communities, in low-income areas of town, and out in the suburbs to bus these people in to the polling booth and then bring them back to their homes. We don't do that on the Republican side. I'm telling you, Republicans need to wake up and realize that we got one last chance here, folks. One. Now, all that being said, I'll refer you back to what I've been saying for quite some time now. There is only one thing stopping Donald Trump from becoming the next president of the United States. And that is that corrupt, crooked judge that oversaw this trial that convicted Trump on these 34 felony charges, putting him in jail. If he does that, it's over with. I don't know what the Republican Party is going to do, but we kind of put all our eggs in one barrel here. On the other side of the fence, if you think for 1 second the DNC isn't figuring out how we can replace Joe Biden, you're not paying attention, because they are panicking, because there ain't a single state in America where the vote is not either tied or Trump is leading by 5 and 10 in the polls. It is looking like a big red wave. So I've said before, and I will still say it again, I never believed that they would let Biden make it to the election, that they would remove him from office before the election because of his mental decline. That's what I truly believe. And there's still that capability going to happen. And they'll put Kamala Harris in there. Because I don't think there's a drug strong enough that exists for Joe Biden to go toe-to-toe now in today's world with his mental decline as it is. When they debate, it's going to be a disaster. And they would at least have a fighting chance if they put the laughing hyena in there. But otherwise, they're going to lose. Unless the judge puts Trump in jail. So both sides right now, the RNC and the DNC, are panicking with this upcoming election. Both of them are going, for the first time, we really can't see clearly through the end of this. Because on one side, you got a man who's got a judge that can either put him in prison or not. And that's the only way for them to save the election. And on the other side, you got him going, if he doesn't put him in jail, he loses against Donald Trump. We got to replace him and put somebody in there. And they have that ability when they have their convention. So we're going to see some significant changes taking place on both parties, the RNC and the DNC, coming up real soon. And I think we're going to see some significant changes in the amount of people across this country that have had enough and are fed up with what's happening and are tired of being lied to and talked down to by the likes of most of these Democrats in Washington, D.C. It is time for real leadership at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Somebody to go in there and bring us back into a world peace situation where we don't have North Korea threatening nuclear weapons. We don't have Iran threatening nuclear weapons and supporting terrorism groups. We don't have Russia killing millions of people in Ukraine and vice versa. We don't have Hamas attacking Israel. We're not on the border of a nuclear war. It's time for real leadership to stabilize the world. History will show you, if you go back and look, that every time America had a strong president, the world stayed in check. When you put somebody in there that is a babbling idiot, the world goes to shit, which is what we see happening right now. All the things that the Democrats said would happen if you put Trump in office didn't happen. But they are happening in the past 3.5 years under Joe Biden. Everything they said Trump would do, he didn't do, but Joe Biden did. And then they try and cover for it and talk about all the great things he's done for world peace and our infrastructure and securing our border. Stop sniffing Elmer's glue or whatever it is you're doing, because we see we don't have the same mental capacity as Joe Biden. We're able to figure this out. And that's not making fun of Joe Biden for his mental capacity. I mean, that's all of us face this when we get older, folks. We start getting up in our 80s. Some of us don't have the same mental capacity as others. And Alzheimer's comes in or dementia comes in. We have all kinds of different mental things that start happening to us as we age. That's just a part of life. But allowing somebody to continue on like they're doing with Joe Biden in this situation, that's elder abuse. He's a complete and utter humiliation to our country across the world. And one way or the other, this November election is going to be something that's going to be on a complete different level that we've never seen in this country. Things are about to change as we approach Election Day. And you're going to see those changes, I really believe, at their conventions. There has to be changes. There's no other way around it. What they will be, it's up in the air. I won't even pretend to say I can predict what's going to happen. But if I wanted to take a stab at it, the DNC is waiting on what this judge will do with Donald Trump. If the judge doesn't send Donald Trump to prison, they will let Joe Biden continue. If the judge does, it's going to be different. If the judge doesn't send him to prison, they're going to replace Biden. And then if the judge does sentence him to prison, who are we going to choose? Who is the RNC going to choose? And there's somebody out there that they're thinking about. I don't know who it is. We know who it would have to be on the Democrat side. It had to be Kamala Harris, the laughing hyena. So this entire next few months is going to be very, very interesting and literally history changing. And it's going to go down in history as one of the wildest times in America. And I hope it's for the best for our country and its outcome. Folks, you have many places you can be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I'm forever grateful. I appreciate you. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel. In the description of this and all my videos, all my live shows, you can see the places you can follow me on social media. Follow me there. I'll follow you back. That's how we do this. Share the story. Share the videos with your family and friends. Tell them about the show so we can continue to press forward and get the word out there so that everybody understands what's taken place and how important it is that we do the right things as we move forward. If anything breaks between now and next Tuesday, I will do a video about it or do a live show about it. Other than that, I hope you have a wonderful night tonight, a great Friday tomorrow, and a wonderful and safe weekend. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders and their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families in our country. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless each and every one of you. Thank you, my friends, and I'll see you soon.